Hi, welcome to my workshop. My name's Darren and this is 3D Prints in the Workshop number 24. In another video called Router Table Center Finder, I built a router table center finder that helps you position your wood on your router table so it's central to the bit as you cut. Now I made that so it would fit over a 1/2 inch shank router bit, thinking that was the most common, but there are a lot of people out there with only 1/4 inch routers. So I've modified the design and made a 1/4 inch as well. So that will be available for download on cults.com. For those of you that didn't see the previous video, Router Table Center Finder, I'll give you a very quick rundown on what this does. If you wanted to cut a channel down the center of a piece of wood, normally you'd adjust your fence to where you thought the center was, cut a scrap piece and keep going and adjusting the fence until you get a perfect center. That's oversimplified, it's a lot more messy than that. But what we can do instead, take our router bit, plunge it through here in the center of this little jig I've made, place your wood on the pivoting little bracket and bring your fence forward until both your wood and this rounded portion of the jig here touch the fence. And then, voila, there we are. That's now set for center. All we have to do now is lock our fence in position. We can take the jig away and just run our piece of timber, and that would be nicely centered. There is a full video on this, so I'll make a link for that above. Still on the subject of router tables, when I built this router table, this was my access area to the router, and this knob back here is the height adjustment. That got a little bit tedious leaning in all that way all the time, so what I've done is round the side here. You can see I've cut a little hole in the side of the router table to give me access to the actual router now. That's a fairly decent size there. That's about the biggest I could print on my printer. The reason I've made the little frame to go around it is just to neaten the hole. I did originally think of cutting the hole out and rounding the edge over, but I figured it would just look like a hole that's just been cut out. This way it looks very framed and deliberate. So I guess you would call this a hole frame. Now, I'm not suggesting you rush out and download this one necessarily. This might not suit your needs. The main point I'm making here is remember that you can do this sort of thing with a 3D printer. Very handy, very easy to design. Just a square with an L-shaped profile if you like. All right, just a very quick mention that I've made some more trays for drawers. These drawers are called Ultra HD Seville Classics. I got them from Bunnings. I'm sure you can probably get the same thing elsewhere. Anyway, I've made this group of trays here for storing my spanners inside there. It works really well, got everything well stored. I've deliberately put some lying flat on their backs and some sideways. The sideways ones are on their sides just to save space so I could fit everything in. The ones that are on their backs, it's because I have multiples in most cases and it just makes it easy to pick them out. Again, I'll make those available on printables.com. Here's an issue I came across recently while using the Kreg shelf pin jig to do some shelf pin holes in a cupboard at work. So what I did, as you do ordinarily, in the back corner, I butted this up against the back edge, this end against the bottom. Imagine this is the bottom of the cupboard and this is the top, and drilled my holes. I didn't drill the bottom 2, no point. In fact, I didn't drill the bottom 3, there was no point. Who's gonna want a shelf that short, right? But I did drill the top 3 and I wanted another couple after that. In the back corner that's fine because you've got the back edge to keep this nice and straight. So we've got this little pin that stores underneath. All we do is we move it up and we use our little pin here to locate into one of the holes. This is still against the back edge and we keep on drilling, right? They're all in a nice straight line. The situation I had is I needed to drill near the front of the cupboard where I wasn't able to use the piece that clips on and go over the edge for alignment because there were hinges in the way and because the shelf was set back from the edge of the cupboard, so it wouldn't have worked anyway. So what I did is I rested it on the bottom to start with, like so, drilled my top 3 holes, and when I wanted to move up, I used my pin here. But of course this is the issue, how do you keep it straight? So I grabbed myself a 5mm drill bit, stuck it in there, and that helped because it limited the movement, all right? But as you can see, there's still some wiggle. So what I've done, underneath here, you'll see I've got this little orange thing. I made it orange so it's easy to see. It's basically a second pin. It's been made longer so it can fit, because there are 2 drill bit holders here. You only need 1 drill bit. So I've made it longer so that'll just sit in there like so and won't fall out. Had I made it shorter, of course, I'll show you with this one, that would happen. So that's why this one's longer. But here's where it comes in. All right, so now I want to drill following up from the height from before. There we go. Now there's a lot less wiggle, look at that. And we can carry on and drill more holes. And as you can see, everything stays nicely aligned. So I thought that was really handy, easy to store. You've always got it with you. And I thought that'd be a great thing to share with everybody because you might get some use out of it. But that got me to thinking, when you first buy these Kreg shelf pin jigs, it comes with this little fellow so you can join 2 jigs together. It just clips underneath, screws in with the 3 screws there, and you can join your next Kreg beneath it, so as you can do a big batch in one go. But I thought, wouldn't it be good if we could have an offset all the time, because we're never going to use the bottom 2 holes. So what I've done is I've made myself this little spacer block that screws to this, which I'll show you in just a sec. And being 62, it virtually eliminates the first 2 holes. So what we get is, I'll just pop that on there, we just flip him over, you can see there's some screw holes on the back. I'm only using 2 screws, I think that's all that's necessary. So as you can see, it just screws in place with a couple of screws there. You could use 3, I've made all 3 holes for it. I just haven't felt the need to at this point. When you flip it over, of course, all right, so now if this is the bottom of the cupboard, we can just butt that straight up against there. And we've already eliminated the bottom 2 holes, and we'll start drilling at the 3rd hole height, like so. Oh, I slid a bit then, but you get the idea. And so there we go. So you're not drilling the 2 wasted holes anymore. And because sometimes you need to flip the jig, I've made 2. So we'll flip one at either end. When we go to the opposite corner, we can flip it round and use the other one. So there's one either side. All right, so that's the Kreg shelf pin jig extender. Almost comes off like a tongue twister, doesn't it? Over here on this wall, you can see I've made a little piece of wood with a couple of steel pins, and I've put loops in the back of my brooms so I can easily just hang my brooms up. Now I did it that way because when I did that, these didn't exist, and they do now. I downloaded this from printables.com. Again, I'll leave a link. Check this out. So basically you just stick your broom in, and there you go. It holds it in place. Look at that. How cool is that? Look at that. Give it a good shake. It's not going anywhere. It's holding it really well. Very impressed. And of course, to get it out, you just lift. So in, a little lift, and out. Very easy. All right, that brings us to the end of another one. I just want to say though that I do print out a lot more things than what I actually show you, but some of them just aren't up to scratch. For example, I recently did one. It was a scraper that took a utility blade. It looked good, printed it all, screwed it all together, it looked great, but it didn't hold the blade. As soon as I tipped it, the blade just fell straight out. Now, the problem was a design flaw. It was that there wasn't the right tolerances when it had been designed to allow for the grip of the blade. But I don't think that's a good enough reason to bring it on here onto YouTube and basically give someone shit for having made it. There's no need for that. So instead, I just don't show you these things. I think that's nicer. All right, but with the things I have shown you, I've found them useful. Hopefully you will too. Have a great day, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye for now.